We've been talking about it for months now, and finally the vaccine rollout is on the horizon. Government says it will launch phase 2 in the middle of May. Now, that phase will focus on vulnerable groups as well as essential workers. Well, of course, that is great news, but let's be clear, it's no easy task. It's actually quite massive, actually. Let's get some perspective. Michael Marillier has been tracking it for us. Michael, Johnson & Johnson agreeing to supply 30 million doses until the end of the year. The next step, getting those jabs into people's arms, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right, Yuveka. It really is crunch time in terms of South Africa's rollout. We understand that phase 2 will run from the middle of May to the middle of November. The key thing now is that we actually have a reliable source of those vaccines, with Johnson & Johnson committing 30 million until the end of the year. And the hope, Yuveka, is that that reliable supply of the vaccine will translate into a quick rollout and actually getting the injections in those shoulders, as you mentioned. So let's focus on the plan in terms of the numbers. The presidency actually released these figures just last week, in fact, Yuveka. 13.35 million people will be vaccinated in phase 2 over the course of 6 months. So that's roughly 180 days, Yuveka. We did the maths, and that translates to just over 74,000 doses per day that will have to be administered. And of course, if we use vaccines that require more than one dose, that could complicate matters a little bit. But it seems that for the most part, we are going with the Johnson & Johnson, and that requires a single dose of the vaccine. Now, let's hope, Yuveka, that government can actually beat its own target, because as we move on to our next graphic, you'll see that we need to get 67% population immunity. In other words, 67% of the population needs to take the vaccine in order to really stop the virus in its tracks. So the target is 67%. It seems right now very unlikely that we are going to reach that number. If government conducts phase 2 as it's planning to do, then we'll probably get to 25% population immunity by the end of November. So a long, long way off that target of 67%, but at least we will be getting those injections in people's arms. Yuveka?
Well, you know, the thing is, COVID might have brought the world to a standstill, but money still makes the world go round. We have to talk about the economics of around COVID as well. And, of course, different countries might competing for investment. And no doubt the vaccine delays won't help our cause because other countries way ahead of us. Yeah, absolutely, Yuveka. You know, you have to wonder if investors aren't thinking, should I put my money in South Africa while it's still dealing with a pandemic? Shouldn't I rather put it in a place where they've already got a vaccine rollout in effect? We decided to take a quick look at some of the countries that we might be competing with in terms of attracting investment, Yuveka. And here they are right there. Morocco, for example, 12% of its population has been covered already. Turkey, we're talking about 10%, so 1 out of 10. Brazil, 6%. And India, roughly 4% of the population has had at least one dose of the vaccine. To put that in perspective, South Africa looking at just under 0.5% at the moment. So we'll have to play catch-up, Yuveka, if we want to try and convince investors that we've dealt with the COVID crisis and we are once again open for business. That we can actually play catch-up fast enough, as fast as needed. Thanks very much, Michael Marillier.